Might we soon look up into the night sky to see a crescent or round-shaped economy?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Odoo, dedicated to providing software designed to scale with businesses. Odoo's programs for manufacturing, accounting, and more aim to provide building blocks for creating a custom software suite. Odoo, what businesses need.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. First, the front of your ID card, including driver's license. Does it have the little star shape indicating it's a real ID? More today on TSA Airport Security, announcing people with an ID but without real ID will soon have to pay a $45 fee. Marketplace's Kimberly Adams has more.
Most current driver's licenses are real IDs, which meet higher federal security standards.
There have been 17 years for people to get compliant with real ID.
Janice Kephart is CEO of identity compliance firm Zip ID and consulted on the 9/11 Commission that spawned the stricter identity requirements.
It's only about 6% of people might not be presenting a real ID or a biometric equivalent at this point. So it's a pretty small percentage.
And who are those folks? Mostly people who don't travel much by air, says Ifeanyi Davis of Louisiana Appleseed Center for Law and Justice.
This can also be really difficult or challenging for people who have missing birth records, for people who are dealing with the legality around their name change.
Critics of new fees say most people will probably just pay to finally get their real IDs rather than deal with the hassle, which is kind of the point, says the TSA's Steve Lorenz.
For us, the big push is security. The big push is compliance. The big push is for people to get their real ID.
But if they don't, starting February 1st, they'll either need to pay the fee online in advance or expect to spend even more time going through security at the airport. In Washington, I'm Kimberly Adams for Marketplace.
The $45 fee will be good for 10 days of travel, so for trips longer than that, passengers with ID but not real ID would pay again. Passports are among a short list of documents that will still work at airport security without the fee. This has all come February. Markets S&P and NASDAQ futures are little changed now, with a key reading on inflation due tomorrow. The Financial Times is reporting now that the U.S. stopped a plan to hit China's spy agency with sanctions in order to keep trade negotiations moving forward. The planned sanctions had been designed to respond to a massive cyber espionage campaign that had targeted top U.S. officials. The FT's reporting suggests this was also about the U.S. not disrupting imports of China's rare earth minerals.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Fidelity Investments. A dedicated advisor can help build a flexible wealth plan. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. And by Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks delivers what's next in cybersecurity innovation to protect today's digital way of life. Learn more at paloaltonetworks.com.
As you gaze up at this evening's supermoon, up to 14% larger seeming and 30% brighter, don't get greedy. To quote Article 2 of the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, outer space, including the moon, is not subject to national appropriation by claim of sovereignty, by means of use or occupation, or by any other means. So you can't do a land grab up there, but you can conduct business on the moon. This week here, multiple views of an emerging moon economy, how it might work, and if it's even a good idea. Christina Guidi is Assistant General Manager for Space Technology and Transportation at a nonprofit entity called the Aerospace Corporation. Among the many projects, it coordinates how people and machines might communicate with each other on the moon.
What we are doing in partnership with NASA for their Artemis missions is creating LunaNet, which is essentially a communications and navigation architecture or system that allows us to communicate to rovers, as you mentioned, also to orbiting spacecraft and astronauts on the surface of the moon from Earth and to each other while they're on the lunar surface.
What about knowing where you are on the moon? I think some of my listeners will be ahead of me on this, right? But the GPS system that we use for our maps to work on our phone involve satellites around Earth. It's probably not going to help you if you're on the moon.
That's what this LunaNet is going to help do, is actually provide that situational awareness of where you are, your position, and allow for navigation of the different assets and astronauts as well. So it's a critical infrastructure that we need to put in place for Artemis to be sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, the infrastructure would include, I don't know, structures, building on the moon. It's a lot cheaper if you can build with stuff that's actually already on the moon. And what that mainly is that lunar dirt. I guess there's promise there of turning that into usable stuff.
That's a key area. In situ resource utilization includes using the lunar regolith to construct structures, to convert the lunar regolith into water and air. There's a lot on the lunar surface that we could actually exploit, but you also have to think about, we have to have power, right? Where are we going to get our power from? We need robotic or mobility devices that would actually push the regolith around to create a landing pad.
I mean, on the side facing the sun, you can use solar, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we're also looking at fission nuclear power sources. So we've got several companies actually developing systems that can actually be deployed on the lunar surface just for that reason, so that it can actually operate during the lunar night.
Chris, I got a favor, though. When you're in meetings coordinating a lunar economy to come, can you tell them not to make a mess? I mean, there are environmental concerns.
Oh, absolutely. But one thing we need to consider looking forward is, how do we take the leftover materials or hardware and reuse it? So that would be a technology that needs to be developed across the community to repurpose material that is not used completely. That's something that needs to be considered in the future for sure.
Christina Guidi is Assistant General Manager for the Space Technology and Transportation Subdivision in the Human Exploration and Spaceflight Division at Aerospace Corporation. Thank you for the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Now, tomorrow here, I'll speak to a professor of religion and science studies, more about these ethical and environmental concerns if the moon were to be developed. Our interviews are accumulating at marketplace.org. We also have a new video up about what I learned about the stock market by building and launching big amateur rockets. You can search Marketplace APM on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and there it is. In Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio with our morning report from APM, American Public Media.